Hi guys, Amelia Bedelia. Here we go. A walk in the park. The next afternoon, Amelia Bedelia met Diana in the park, just as they had planned. Diana had her dog, Buster, with her, but she was also surrounded by 9 other dogs in all shapes and sizes and colors. Hi, Amelia Bedelia. Did you bring any of your famous lemon tarts along with you? Asked Diana. Amelia Bedelia shook her head. Sorry, I forgot. I'm glad, said Diana. Those yummy tarts drive my dogs crazy. Amelia Bedelia began to scratch a dog behind its long leathery ears. They were enormous, like an elephant's ears. That's a bloodhound. His name is Sherlock, said Diana. He can follow any trail just by tracking a scent. A scent, said Amelia Bedelia. Can he find more valuable stuff like dimes and quarters and dollar bills? A bloodhound can follow a smell for miles and find whatever needs to be found, explained Diana. At that moment, all the dogs perked up their ears. Then they all turned their heads in the same direction. Amelia Bedelia and Diana looked too. Prancing down the path was a magnificent poodle. Uh-oh. This could be trouble. And she got the scent. 2 different words. Wow, said Diana. What a cutie. Are poodles your favorite dog? Asked Amelia Bedelia. That's a terrific poodle, said Diana. Do you know the boy walking it? Amelia Bedelia was so captivated by the dog that she hadn't noticed the boy at all. She looked back at him just as he and his dog came upon a group of skateboarders at the top of a hill. One of the skateboarders whistled loudly, while another bowed deeply. A third yelled, Hey dog boy, who's your girlfriend? Then they laughed and they rode in circles around the boy and his dog. Amelia Bedelia felt bad for him. Those skateboarders went to her school. Tomorrow she would tell him not to be so mean to other people. I have a favor to ask, said Diana. Would you help me return these tired pups to their owners? They are your pals. They won't give you any trouble. Sure, said Amelia Bedelia. I can do that. Thanks, said Diana. I need to get home early. Tonight, I'm going on my very first blind date. Amelia Bedelia didn't know what to say, so she asked a question. Will you take his seeing eye dog for a walk? A curious look came over Diana's face. Then she began to laugh. Oh, honey, she said. My date isn't blind. He can see. We've just never met before. We have friends in common, and they wanted us to meet since we both work with dogs. He has a dog grooming business, and he's a vet. Wow, said Amelia Bedelia. If Buster ever gets sick, can you just take him to your blind date? Diana laughed even louder. No. He isn't a veterinarian. He's a veteran. He served in the military and worked with dogs. Then he went back to school and learned how to groom dogs. He loves them. Diana took the leashes of all 10 dogs and handed half of them to Amelia Bedelia. Here you go, she said. These 5 live on Maple Street. They're very smart. They'll let you know which house is theirs. Thanks for trusting me, said Amelia Bedelia. And have fun tonight. Crossing Leashes, Chapter 5. As Amelia Bedelia headed out of the park towards Maple Street, she ran into the boy and his poodle. Just to be friendly, Amelia Bedelia said, Nice dog. Thanks, said the boy. You've got a lot of nice dogs. Amelia Bedelia's pack of dogs strained at their leashes, dragging her over to the poodle. The dogs let out little yips of greeting and approval while they were sniffing and snuffling one another. Uh-oh, I smell trouble, don't you? This sounds like a lot of trouble for Amelia Bedelia. I wonder what's going to happen. Soon their leashes were completely all tangled up. They were wrapped every which way around Amelia Bedelia's legs. It looked like some dog maypole dance with Amelia Bedelia playing the part of the pole. I think if I try to move, I'll probably fall over, said Amelia Bedelia, swaying from side to side. Then don't move a muscle, said the boy. He let go of his leash, commanded his poodle to sit. It actually sat, and began to untangle Amelia Bedelia. You must love dogs, he said. I do, said Amelia Bedelia, but these aren't mine. I'm helping a friend who walks dogs for a business. I should hire your friend, said the boy. I love my dog, but I hate to walk him. Kids always make fun of me. I saw what happened, said Amelia Bedelia. I know those guys. And tomorrow, there he is untangling her. At school, I'll tell them to stop it. No, don't do that, said the boy. Having a girl come to my rescue would be even worse. But I could help you, said Amelia Bedelia. Who are you, said the boy. My name is Amelia Bedelia. As soon as she said it, she could tell by the look on his face that he'd heard of her. His eyes lit up and he said, Hey, I remember you. You were on TV. You got in trouble because of your lemonade stand. That's me, said Amelia Bedelia. I'm Charlie, said the boy. What's your dog's name, asked Amelia Bedelia. This is Pierre, said Charlie. Charlie motioned for Pierre to come over and sit in front of Amelia Bedelia. Pierre sat up straight and held out his right paw for her to shake. Amelia Bedelia laughed as she shook Pierre's paw. What a nice, firm paw shake, she said. Amelia Bedelia wasn't sure what to say next, so she asked a question. I've never seen such a big poodle. Is Pierre an economy size? He's a standard poodle, Charlie said. Gosh, said Amelia Bedelia, if Pierre is a standard poodle, what does a special poodle look like? Standard is just a size, said Charlie. It means that he's the biggest type of poodle. It's his fancy haircut that makes him look even more gigantic and kind of silly. It's why I get teased sometimes when I walk him. I have a great idea, said Amelia Bedelia. Meet me here tomorrow. I'll walk Pierre, and you can walk these dogs. That way, no one will tease you. Amelia Bedelia held out her hand. Charlie smiled as he took it, shook it, and said, It's a deal. See you tomorrow. Amelia Bedelia walked down Maple Street. The tiny terrier strained at his leash when he spotted a jogger running toward them. The boxer ran to a man hitting a punching bag in his garage. So all kinds of things were happening with these dogs. The bearded collie belonged to a man with a beard. The husky spotted her owner. Last but not least was the sweet Maltese. Amelia Bedelia had a lot to think about as she walked home. She wondered about dogs and blind dates and Charlie and Pierre. Most importantly, she wondered what kind of dog was right for her. States up! Chapter 6. The next afternoon, Amelia Bedelia's mother looked out the kitchen window. Uh-oh, she said. Storm cloud's coming. It looks like it's going to rain cats and dogs. I hope not, said Amelia Bedelia. I'd hate to have a St. Bernard fall on my head. Besides, I have to meet Diana and Charlie in the park. Then take this umbrella, said her mother. Amelia Bedelia shook her head. That isn't big enough, she said. It couldn't save me from a falling chihuahua. Don't worry about that, said Amelia Bedelia's father. Even if it rains cats and dogs, do you know how the worst thing that can happen? Years of experience warned Amelia Bedelia not to ask, but she did anyway. No, Dad, what's the worst that can happen? I'm glad you asked, said her dad. If it rains cats and dogs, you might step in a poodle. Her father began to chuckle himself. Amelia Bedelia shuddered involuntarily at the thought of stepping into Pierre. That's the worst joke I've ever heard, she said. Her dad snorted and laughed really loudly. It was so embarrassing. Amelia Bedelia's mother rolled her eyes. I hope you realize, honey, she said, that no one enjoys your jokes more than you do. Amelia Bedelia arrived at the park on time, even though her mom made her drag along a dumb umbrella. She waited for Diana at the bench where they always met. Charlie and Pierre arrived a few minutes later. Hey, said Charlie, where are the dogs? I'm not sure, said Amelia Bedelia. Diana's late. I'll call her later. I can still walk Pierre for you if you want me to. Okay, said Charlie. Amelia Bedelia took Pierre's leash and they began to walk. She told Charlie about her dad's step in a poodle joke. Charlie laughed, and this time she did too. Actually, said Charlie, your dad's right. A long time ago, poodles were trained as hunting dogs. They were retrievers, and they splashed into ponds and through puddles. That's how they got their name. Amelia Bedelia couldn't wait to tell her dad. There they are walking together, walking Pierre. Maybe her dad was smarter than even he thought he was. Up ahead, Amelia Bedelia saw the same bunch of skateboarders Charlie had run into yesterday. They were hanging out right at the top of a long, steep hill. They were exactly where Amelia Bedelia, Charlie, and Pierre were heading. The skateboarders remembered Pierre and Charlie. They started to laugh and hoot, and the tall one put his fingers to his mouth to whistle. But Amelia Bedelia didn't give him a chance. She did what she did best. She asked a question. "How do you ride one of these things?" She hopped onto the deck of a skateboard and wobbled back and forth. "Whoa!" she yelled, waving her arms for balance, with an umbrella in one hand and Pierre's leash in the other. "It's super easy," said one of the guys. "Just head down the hill and lean from side to side like riding a wave on a surfboard." Nothing good can come of this, I'm telling you. Amelia Bedelia is going to faceplant or something. Suddenly a squirrel bounded by, hopping down the sidewalk. Pierre took off after that squirrel like a rocket. The chase was on. "Double whoa," said Amelia Bedelia. She squatted down to keep her balance as Pierre pulled her behind him. Pierre may have looked slightly silly with his groomed and puffy coat, but under those fluffy pom-poms were strong, rippling muscles. He pulled Amelia Bedelia along with no trouble at all. The squirrel raced ahead, and Pierre barked happily, chasing that squirrel. And zipping behind them was Amelia Bedelia. "Stop, stop, please stop!" she hollered all the way down the hill. The long, steep sidewalk ended at a large circular fountain with a round pool that was deep enough for wading. In the center was a statue of a mermaid that spit water into the sky. The mermaid reminded Amelia Bedelia of her mom spitting out her water at the dinner table. Even though she was scared, Amelia Bedelia began to giggle. Then she stopped. Amelia Bedelia was going so fast she couldn't jump off. She wished her mom could help her now. If she fell, she'd be one giant scab. She wished she had asked that skateboarder another question. "How do you stop? Stop!" The squirrel zigzagged furiously, but kept heading for the fountain, with Pierre hot on his trail and Amelia Bedelia holding on for dear life. She leaned backwards, forward, from side to side, twisting and turning to keep her balance. Amelia Bedelia heard shouting. She looked over her shoulder and saw Charlie. He was leading the pack of skateboarders who were cheering her on. "Look at her! She's carving like an expert! What a natural! She'll get hurt!" yelled Charlie. Just then the squirrel darted to the left. So did Pierre, yanking the leash out of Amelia Bedelia's hand. Now she was heading straight for the fountain. Amelia Bedelia leaned back. Pop went her umbrella, and it opened behind her and began to slow her down. The front wheel of the skateboard jumped onto the rim of the fountain. The spitting mermaid was the last thing Amelia Bedelia saw before she shut her eyes. Charlie and the skateboarders saw the front end of the skateboard just clear to the edge of the fountain. Amelia Bedelia leaned forward towards the mermaid statue to catch her balance. Then she leaned backward as far as she could. She rode the rim of the fountain in a complete perfect circle. By the time she came around to where she had started, the skateboard had run out of steam. Amelia Bedelia jumped to the ground. The skateboarders and Charlie stood in stunned silence. Then they all let out a huge whoop and raced toward her. Charlie was the first to reach Amelia Bedelia. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I guess so. Yep," she said. The skateboarders went wild. They hoisted Amelia Bedelia onto their shoulders and carried her around and around the fountain. "You're amazing." "What a set of moves. How did you do that? Teach us how to ride like that, like now." So now she is a favorite with all of those skateboarders because of what she did. Amelia Bedelia laughed. "Okay, but maybe some other day," she said. We won't put you down until you promise," said the guys. "I promise," said Amelia Bedelia, but then she panicked. "Where's Pierre?" Charlie pointed at a tree. Pierre was keeping up on the trunk and barking. From a high branch, a chattering squirrel hurled nuts at Pierre's head. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie ran over and grabbed Pierre's leash. "That was cool," Amelia Bedelia said. Charlie, "It was amazing that you hung onto Pierre's leash." "Thanks." "No problem," said Amelia Bedelia. "I know. Let's go to Pete's Diner to celebrate. Today, you get 2 hot fudge sundaes for the price of 1. "Great," said Amelia Bedelia. She hoped her knees would stop shaking by the time they got there. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie spent the rest of the afternoon at Pete's. Charlie told her all about Pierre and Poodles. Amelia Bedelia learned that Charlie's mom was passionate about poodles, but that Pierre was Charlie's responsibility. He fed Pierre and walked Pierre and even groomed and bathed Pierre. My mom thinks I do a great job, Charlie said. She even entered Pierre in that big dog show on Saturday night. She sure will win first prize. You will, said Amelia Bedelia. Pierre is amazing. But boom went a clap of thunder. It began to rain cats and dogs. Poor Pierre was outside getting soaked. Amelia Bedelia pleaded with Pete until he let Pierre come inside, just this once. Charlie parked Pierre under the table of their booth. Keep him quiet and out of the way, said Pete. I don't want anyone to step in a poodle. Ha, 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 ha. From under the table, Pierre let out a huge yawn. It was a long time before Amelia Bedelia and Charlie could stop giggling. There's Pierre under the table. And that is the end of our little story today. You guys know the drill. Draw me out a picture. Write me out a little thing if you can. And stay safe. Wash your hands, please. See you in a bit.